on earlier, where we were talking or dealing with Aristotle's contribution, chief contributions to literary criticism, beginning with the idea that according to him, tragedy or a work of art is an imitation of nature that reflects a high form of art. You remember when you studied poetry, you have introduced, I suppose, to a term which is mimesis, and on the basis of which, or with the help of which, you can tell the difference between restoration poetry and romantic poetry, as is the difference between a mirror and a lamp. I don't like to go into detail as far as this, but that's fresh up your memories with something which I suppose that you have already covered in your third year. Apart from this, there is a book by Orbach, which goes under the very title of Mimesis, a representation of reality in European literature. This is a very significant book that has been highly appreciated by Edward Said, famous Arab American intellectual, مثقف الناقد الفلسطيني الأمريكي, because he categorizes Orbach one of those who can be described as the un-Jewish Jew, Yahudi, La Yahudi. And by the way, there is another book by Isaac Deutscher, a writer and a thinker, well being praised, highly educated by Said again, under the title Jewish Jew. So never try to get cerebrized. If you try to have some ideas about mimesis, you can start with Aristotle's idea or Plato's idea of mimesis, going through Aristotle and ending up with Eric. If you're interested to have a very solid background against which you are supposed to build your own ideas, your knowledge, not only now, but in the future. Number two, art possesses form that is a tragedy unlike life, as a defined beginning, middle. This is a very important idea, because no matter how much you try to manipulate these three categories, the beginning, the middle, and you end up with novel and so forth. It depends on the category with which you start. But with the end, you will end up having what is called science fiction. If you start with the middle, this definitely tells you that some novelists do not start with the beginning of the action, but rather in the middle. And so much depends on what is called narrative structure. I'd like you to work out the differences between shape, form, and structure. And this is not the time for me to explain them. Try to look them up. Or, in other words, you can draw a semantic map, دائرة دلالية, and you project these terms on this map. تسقط هذه المصطلحات على هذه الدائرة الدلالية, and it will tell you a lot about what and which as regards those terms. Each part being related to every part. The relationship between each part of a tragedy is not necessarily meant to be the total of all parts. Rather, it is related organically, each to each, and the result is a unified whole. والكل أكثر من الأجزاء، ذلك لأنه يساهم في تشكيل ما يصطلح عليه الوحدة التكاملية أو الكل. A tragedy is an organic whole, and definitely be organic brings in to our mind of what makes an organism an organism. الكائن العضوي له صفات خاصة، من أنه العلاقة بين الأجزاء علاقة تكاملية. That is to say, the relationship among parts is comparatively complementary. لا تستطيع أن تأخذ عنصرا واحدا وتقول هذا يمثل الكل. ناهيك عن أن النمو يكون من الداخل، وبالتالي يختلف النمو عن الوراء. ويضاف إلى هذا أن المواد المتنوعة التي نتناولها ستتحول إلى المادة الأولى التي تصنع منها أجسادنا. So different types, different meals get assimilated, and they will turn into what is called the HB, hemoglobin. And analogically, the poet or the writer may imbibe so many different materials out of his own experiences in life, out of his own readings of whatever types, and then they get assimilated into what he is going to write. And interestingly enough, there is an analogy, هناك تماثل أو تشابه, which has already been carved by T.S. Eliot in his essay, Literature and Religion. هناك مقالة ل.T.S. Eliot الشاعر المعروف عنوان الأدب والدين, where he tries to work out some sort of an analogy between reading and eating, ما بين الأكل والقراءة. I don't like, you see, to go into more details. This idea of the organic whole is going to be taken up in detail by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Biography. For his own credit goes the coinage of what is called organic unity, العضوية في الأعمال الأدبية. هذا إذا ما توقفت قليلا عند عمل كولوريج الشاعر الإنجليزي كولوريج. Coleridge is very much influenced formatively by the German philosopher Immanuel Kant, particularly in his book نقد الحكم لكانت مارس تأثيرا كبيرا على كولوريج، وبالتالي هذا التأثير قد رصد من قبل أحد النقاد الأمريكان الذي هو من أصل تيكي by the name of رينيا فاليك. وهذا بالنسبة لي رينيا والك هو 10 في 1 في واحد، يقرأ في 6 لغات ويكتب وما إلى ذلك. أسهم في تأسيس ما يسمى بحلقة الدماغ اللغوية في الأربعينات أسوة بروفسكي وآخرين، وانتقل إلى أمريكا وأمضى حياته الفكرية والعملية في جامعة ييل الأمريكية. معروف بالنسبة للقراء العرب عبر مجموعة من الكتب التي ترجمت ابتداء من نظرية الأدب الذي نشر عام 1947 ترجمه الأستاذ محي الدين، وأصبح كتابا معتمدا لدرس الأدبي في أقسام اللغة العربية. مفاهيم نقدية ترجم ونشر في الكويت. And he has got some other books, Discriminations. I don't know whether it's translated or rendered into Arabic. Yeah, I don't know.